All right, everybody, welcome here inside the Den, Sound Off Sports. We got the fan favorite in the flesh, in the studio, in the den. It's Q Myers. Q, great to be with you. Great to see you.
This is awesome.
It's good.
I like to be in the den.
You're in your natural habitat.
I am, man. This is awesome.
It's great to have you here. You were just in Green Bay for the NFL draft, doing all your stuff with Joe and Q, ESPN Radio, ESPN Las Vegas. So let's break down some of the big storylines. I would love to break right into the Raiders, but I don't think we can do that.
Right.
I think we got to talk about a little bit of what we were doing last time with Shedeur.
Yeah.
Okay. So Shedeur Sanders, you had a funny little anecdote for us. Tell us, you were traveling back to Vegas, and a lot occurred before his name was called.
It is so funny, man, because, again, that was the biggest storyline at the draft was Shedeur. Regardless of any other player, any other team, it's like, when is this guy going to get selected? I left early on Saturday morning, flew out around 6 a.m. in Green Bay, right? So I guess that's Central Time.
Yeah.
So I got to Vegas. I went to the barbershop. And my barbershop, as many could tell you, is not just the fastest shop. Like, you don't just run in.
Hang.
Yeah, you hang out, you talk a little trash, you watch the draft, which I was doing, and I got my hair cut. I went to the car wash and got my car washed. I don't know if you know, but car washes aren't the fastest places either. They kind of take their time too. So I'm listening.
This is a hand wash. This is not just a
It's a hand wash. It's like, take your time, relax. You better sit for a while. So I'm listening to the radio, listening to the draft. I get everything done. I get back to the house, turn on the draft. He still hasn't got selected yet. I was like, what are we doing?
Okay.
It became comical.
So 5th round, 144th overall draft pick.
Yep.
Dillon Gabriel was drafted ahead of him. Now you got a Cleveland Browns draft room with Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders, Dillon Gabriel, Joe Flacco, and Kenny Pickett. So before we get into the Browns and why they were the franchise, the organization to take this leap of faith, why did he fall? I've been asking this to everybody. Why do you really think he fell? Because you and I were kind of there for number 6 for the Raiders with him.
Right.
So why did Shedeur fall?
I think overall the league didn't think he was as great as he thought he was, right? And I think he's a really good quarterback. Like, make no mistake about it. Like I said, I was very much with the Raiders getting him at 6. I was good with that. I think the league does not think he's great, and I don't think that they like the process that he goes through. I don't think they like the cameras on everywhere, the legendary this, the legendary that. I don't think that they like all of that. And so once he dropped out of the first round, it became like, well, he might be a backup quarterback. Do you want all this with a backup? So I started hearing conversations about they don't want a guy who's going to be a silo in the locker room where it's about me, and not we.
Right.
And that's a possibility. That's a strong possibility. Once it got to round 5, I was like, whoa, hey, man, like, you might want to go undrafted so you can pick your location as opposed to a team selecting you. That might end up being better for him. He goes to the Browns. They just picked Dillon Gabriel. Like, that blew our mind in the media room there at the draft. We're like, whoa, I saw it, and I hate that I saw it before it actually got announced that it was Dillon Gabriel, and someone across from me was like, oh, this is going to be Shedeur, and I was like, no, it's not. And he's like, no way, and I said, just wait for it, and it just was the biggest roar that you would ever hear. When they announced Dillon Gabriel, the whole room was like, oh my gosh, like, it was unbelievable that they actually took Gabriel. He didn't even expect to go that early.
So Dillon Gabriel, listen, I'm not a scout. I didn't play ball, but I think most people would feel Shedeur is a better quarterback than Dillon Gabriel. So the question then becomes, okay, if you don't see him as a superstar, a lot of organizations and franchises, they draft players in the 2nd and 3rd round. They use a premium pick on a quarterback. Now, we saw it with Seattle, right? They signed a big deal for Matt Flynn, and then what do? They draft Russell Wilson.
Yep.
The Eagles had Carson Wentz. They draft Jalen Hurts.
Right.
Nick Foles when he was originally drafted in the 4th round or something like that, 3rd or 4th. So my question is, okay, we know there's a lot of stuff going on off the field.
For sure.
His interviews may have gone like Step Brothers with John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell. But if the talent is there in the most important position, not in the NFL, in all of sports, and he has potential, why would teams not even question pulling the trigger? Is it that big of an issue to have a guy like that in your franchise, and you just think owners were taking them off the board? So that's what I still can't wrap my head around.
Well, that's the thing. If he was elite talent, they would have taken him.
But was Russell Wilson elite talent when he was drafted out of Wisconsin?
No, but they took him in the 3rd round. But the one thing he was, and this is what I believe.
But he was 5th round.
But no, I know. But Russell was a winner. That's the one thing I did. I fully believe Russell Wilson was a winner when he entered the draft.
So you think when guys like that are selected, it's less so about the traits and more so about we're unsure.
Right.
But we know he's a good guy to have.
And they knew that Russell Wilson wasn't going to stir anything up in the locker room. He was a good guy in their word, right? And again, when you get into the third, fourth, fifth round and you have a guy that's documenting everything, filming everything, and, it's not what every team wants. They rather take a chance on a safe guy like Dillon Gabriel, who might not be as talented, and I don't think he is as talented as Shedeur, but he's safe. He's going to go in there, and they're going to say, hey, man, we need you here at 6. He's going to get there at 5:55, right?
So Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry, GM and head coach with the Browns, did not look thrilled.
No,
right?
Not at all. That was something that stood out to me too. Berry was just like, okay.
So what does this say more about the Browns organization and Jimmy Haslam and all that stuff? Because it seems like a lot of organizations are like, there's a lot of stink here.
Yeah.
We can't even have any of this negative energy in our building, so we're going to stay away. The Browns, though, we're okay with it. So did you kind of like the move, and what do you ultimately think winds up happening now with Shedeur?
The thing about it is it's a safe move for the Browns in round 5 because you can move on from them, and nobody's going to bat an eye, right? There's going to be plenty of fifth-round picks that are going to get cut. So he could get cut, and they're not going to say anything about it, except for Shedeur Sanders is no longer a part of the Cleveland Browns, and then someone else will pick him up, and then we'll see what he can do there. The problem is that he is a very talented dude. Is he going to go and maximize his talent? If I was him, and this is just me, that's all I can ever speak for is myself, I would turn the cameras off, I would work my tail off, and I would prove that I was right and that you were wrong. Right. That's what I would do. I would say, that's cool. I don't like being selected in the 5th round. It cost me a lot of money, but I've already got a lot of money. So fine. NIL was great to me. My dad, obviously, we have plenty of money. Money's not the issue. So I'm going to work my tail off, and I'm going to prove that I could be the best quarterback. I think, honestly, he could start day 1 for the Browns. Because, look, Deshaun Watson's not playing.
Right. He's got the
injured.
Achilles.
Flacco's old.
Right.
Kenny Pickett's not good. Right? I mean, Dillon Gabriel's...
We don't know.
And we don't know what Shedeur.
Right.
So if I'm Shedeur, I'm like, wait, there's 5 guys in this room? I could beat all these guys.
Right. In a lot of ways, it's the perfect situation
and it's a good coach.
Because there's not a lot of places he was going to go that could really fit the bill. So we'll see what happens. I'm curious about all of that stuff. We certainly know, though, that he kind of went from a 0 to a hero with this fall. So
he was a hero for the broadcast. Everyone stayed locked in on the draft, right?
But people are going to be rooting for him, I think, certainly
Yeah.
now, which is going to be cool to see. Now, let's focus a little bit here on the Raiders in Las Vegas. So, number 6, they get their guy, Ashton Jeanty. Overall, what was your feeling with this draft? It seems like there's a real culture shift here in the building with the types of guys, Jack Bash. It just seems like there's a certain type of character that now it's evident why they would not even go Shedeur.
Well, I'll say this, man. They almost didn't get Ashton Jeanty, right? If Jacksonville doesn't make that trade up to number 2 to get Hunter, they're taking Jeanty. Like that's been confirmed.
5,
They're taking him at 5. And I got nervous when Cleveland's on the clock at 5 because they don't have Nick Chubb. So I was like, well, they just got all this draft capital. Maybe they take Jeanty and let him be their workhorse. So when the Raiders got him, one, it was a sigh of relief just because he's that home run hitter. I really love that they got him, knowing that he can be a big bell cow for them, knowing that he could be a guy that could take pressure off Geno Smith. He can make life easier on Brock Bowers, on Jacoby Myers. Life is easier because you have that guy in the backfield, and he's a threat. Right? So now defenses can't just say, all right, well, we're going to double Brock, or we're going to make sure that we just pin our ears back and get after the quarterback. Now they have all these different weapons, and then they went and had a really good draft where it's just like a lot of competitive, tough dudes in that room is going to also help out.
Yeah, Charles Grant, guy from William & Mary. A lot of teams liked him.
Yep.
Besh just kind of almost has a Cooper Kupp kind of feel to him already.
And tough as nails.
Right.
And obviously, he's got the story,
He's got the story. His brother.
Yep.
Unfortunate situation with the New Orleans attack and Tiger Besh from Princeton. So there's going to be a lot of great guys in that room. But let's talk a little bit more about Jeanty because you were up close and personal with a lot of these guys. So Jeanty, you interviewed him.
Yeah.
You interviewed his coach from Boise State. What was your takeaways from this guy? Was he so magnetic in person? Just what were your thoughts about being in his orbit?
He was very confident and he was very competitive. And you could feel the competitive juices coming out in him. And, he was talking about the visit that he had with the Raiders and the fact that, they were playing basketball. And I said, how'd you do? He's like, I got a good J. I won. Right. And it was almost like, duh, of course I won. Like, you didn't know and so you could just see and hear the competitiveness in him. And so just excited by him, the person, the player, the leadership, talking to his coach is like, man, you're getting a great player, but you're getting a better person. right? And so that's something to get excited about as well. We know that the Raiders need as many great dudes and great competitors. That culture shift that Pete Carroll's trying to create, John Spytek's trying to create. Ashton has an opportunity to be that leader. And, he knows the history of the Raiders, has a really good relationship with Marcus Allen. They were communicating throughout the course of the year while he was at Boise State, and he's like giving them tips here and there. So he's already kind of been in talks with Raider royalty, right? And so it's just, I think that he's going to be a really good player, and he's excited to get to work, and he's a worker. That's the biggest thing.
It's exciting when the Silver and Black, they have a running back who has that star power, the Bo Jackson, the Marcus Allen, the Marshawn Lynch. It's great to have a guy like that in the fold. Build-wise, what did you think about his, because he's got such a unique, build, because I think a lot of, like Kevin Bollinger here at Fox 5, one of the knocks we were talking on Sin City Beat is this is a guy who has a lot of wear and tear because he took a lot of carries. So, he really was a bell cow at Boise State. But from his build, there looks like there's something interesting with him as well as Marion Hampton in that picture we see circulating on social media with Harbaugh. So tell us a little bit just about his build. Did he look like a freak just from his build?
He's rocked up. He's not tall, right? He's only like 5'9", but the dude looks like he's like a bowling ball, but he's in great shape, right? There's pictures of him when he took his shirt off at his pro day. It's like, hey man, put those away, right? This is a family show, man. Put that away, like that. He just looks the part, man. He really does, and he's in great shape. And I just think that with his style, the way that he runs, he kind of has that upright. He doesn't really get over in a running back stance. He kind of stands upright and surveys everything, and then he's ready to go, man. And I think he was described on the broadcast as like a bowling ball with knives. That's how he runs through the offensive line and defensive line. Like he's just good luck trying to stop him. So that's something that I think will be really good. And with this offensive line, they know what they have now. They know what they have in behind them, and they know who they're blocking for. So now it's up to them to go out there, put the best five out there, and make it happen, and give him an opportunity to be great. I think this dude's going to be great.
And a team that had the worst running game in the NFL last year. You really need a running game, especially if the quarterback play is not, we like Geno, but it helps to have a running game elite, where you can really manage a game and get that stuff
and it helps
going.
The defense too.
100%, so that's why I think that's going to be key for this team. And they also got Mostert, so, maybe there's going to be a little bit of a committee situation there. Now, the Travis Hunter thing. So James Gladstone, the GM of Jacksonville, huge splash, as you were alluding to. We may not even get Jeanty if they don't make this move. Now, April 7th, this deal was actually agreed upon from what I've read with Berry and James Gladstone. So James Gladstone comes from the Les Snead LA Rams situation. He was a young hotshot kid, 34 years old, makes this massive trade to trade up from 5 to 2 to get Travis Hunter. What was your take on that? Did you like to see the ballsiness of a 34-year-old first-time GM doing that? And do you think it's going to wind up being the right thing for Jackson?
I'll tell you what, when he walked past me at the Combine, I didn't even know who it was because he's so young looking. I was like, oh, yeah, some handler just walked by, and they're like, that's the GM, dummy. And I was like, oh, my bad, because he just looks like he's just some average dude. I love the move. I hated what the Jaguars did when it came to they took so long to get a GM in place. I didn't like the way that Liam Cohen was hired. I thought it was kind of Bush League, went around the corner, hid from Tampa Bay. I thought all that was not cool. But if you want to talk about making a splash to your fan base, that's what they did, right?
Yeah.
They could have sat on their hands, waited till 5, picked Jeanty, Graham, anyone they wanted to pick. They said, we're going to get a new face of our franchise.
Right.
We're going to get the most electric guy in the draft. We're going to bring him home, right? He's from the Florida area. He wants to play both ways. We're going to let him go both ways. He's going to be the guy who sells all the jerseys here. He's going to be the guy that says this starts the new beginning in Jacksonville. He is now has so much responsibility on him, which I think he's going to love and embrace, but he's the dude. He's not Trevor Lawrence's team anymore. It's Travis Hunter's team. And so they made their first big move was going and getting the best player that they could in the draft. And I think that tells the fan base, we're not going to settle for anything. We're going to go out, and if there's players that we want, we're going to go get them. You mentioned it. He comes from Les Snead. What did Les Snead do when he was, trying to build that Super Bowl winning team? Forget those picks, right? Again, family show, so we keep it clean. But he went out and targeted who he wanted and brought it in. So did Gladstone. All right, that's the guy I want.
Yeah,
I want him.
It's almost a shame, the Shedeur narrative, because it took away from the talk of Travis Hunter and just how electrifying this player is. What I loved about it was the fact that I feel like if Shedeur if Travis, went to other franchises, I don't know if they would have been so open to the whole thing. To me, Jacksonville's such a wild card. There's such, an unconventional franchise to begin with, that they might really say, yeah, sure, suit up both. Like,
why not?
That probably would be the one franchise that say, they'll let him do it.
He's electric with the ball in his hand, and I think Trevor Lawrence knows that. I think the Jaguars know that. And look, did any of us really want to see him go to Cleveland? Probably not.
No.
Right? So Jacksonville, I think, is a great location for him. Right? And so, I just, again, man, everything that they're doing, when they go overseas, playing in London, the guy on the billboard is going to be Travis Hunter. And that's the thing about a good kid. He works his tail off, right? He's not a guy who's going to get in trouble. He's going to be a great ambassador for your team. Takes a little bit of pressure off Trevor Lawrence as well.
Yeah.
I just think that everything is set up really well for him. It was a huge move. I loved it. I liked it for Cleveland, too. They got a lot of draft capital in return. I would say Jacksonville overpaid, but who cares? Overpaid for him, right? You know who you're getting in Travis Hunter. You don't know what you got with those picks. So what?
And Cleveland, two things can be true at the same time. Cleveland, it was a good trade for Cleveland as well in a lot of ways. Real quickly, as we're wrapping up here, we got Q Myers, ESPN Radio, Joe and Q. We love having him, the fan favorite of all of our triple SEN coverage here at Fox 5. So, big winners of the draft and losers. Was there any other, beyond the Travis Hunter, beyond the Shedeur, was there any takeaways from being there that just struck you? Because, first of all, it just looked like the place was packed with people.
It was crazy.
It looked amazing.
Right.
Just the amount of fans, and it was an exciting thing to see. But what else struck you from the whole experience being on the ground?
Two big winners, as far as I'm concerned, from the draft. Green Bay as a community, because they were able to host the draft, and they did a fantastic job. It was phenomenal, being able to park on people's lawns and everything. It's like I was in a college town, right? Going over to the game on Saturday afternoon. That was fantastic. They showed what their community is all about. People that it's a bucket list place to go, Lambeau Field, for myself. First time I was ever there. It was great. So I think that they won. And then, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles won.
There we go.
Why wouldn't they win?
Thank you.
They always find a way to win. They're the defending Super Bowl champs. They trade up one spot to go get Campbell in the first round. They're like, we're bored. Let's trade up a spot to go get this guy. They always find a way to win.
Tell me a little bit about him. You think he's that 100% a stud?
Oh, fantastic. He's a fantastic player. I'm a big Alabama football fan anyway. I know he has a shoulder injury, but they're not worried about that. Okay, so he's going to be a little slow to camp. Fine, so be it. Howie Roseman attacks the trenches. He attacks defense. He always collects guys that he doesn't necessarily need at the time, and they pay dividends. I love what Howie Roseman's doing. Philadelphia, at the end of the first round, everyone's like, of course they would go and make that move. Why wouldn't they? They have 20 draft picks in the next two, this last one that just passed, and then next year's draft. Like, that's a ridiculous amount of draft capital. They can do whatever they want. They can run this thing for a couple years. I was excited about what Philadelphia did.
It's fascinating because growing up in Philadelphia area, Jahad Campbell actually went to Timber Creek High School.
Okay.
I played them in tennis. I was pretty good at tennis. Timber Creek was more of a football school, not a tennis school.
Yeah.
So let's just say they probably killed us in football and we killed them in tennis.
There you go. Hey, you got a dub, man. You got a dub.
But he grew up an Eagles fan, and his grandfather. So it's a great story locally as well for Philadelphia. And looks like we got a stud there in Jahad Campbell.
Thanks.
So a lot of interesting stuff. We're going to definitely need you coming on perpetually on this program as we talk and break down, follow the stories of the draft as well as Shedeur. Thank you so much, Q. Any last words? Any? I
need to be in the den more often, man. I love this place. This place is fantastic.
I think this is a good fit for you.
Yeah, let's do it.
This is the new.
Can I do radio from here too?
We'll set you up. You can go national. Listen, ladies, he's national. So maybe I'm happy that national ESPN gig. These digs are good for you.
Oh, fantastic. I love it. Thanks so much for having me.
Good. All right. The great Q Myers.